Hey guys, Carl from Moose Plays. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Amalfi Renaissance, a reworking of the Uchibacoya game Amalfi from designer Takeo Yamada, and this time from publishers Sylex Games and R&R Games. This is a worker placement game with a unique twist on resource management in which you find yourself as a sailor in ancient Italy, sailing out to destinations, exploring for new destinations, hoping to amass a collection of artwork and invite illustrious historical figures back with you to sort of bring about the renaissance of the city of Amalfi. Disclaimer, I was given a review copy of this game from the publisher, but as always I will do my best to give you my own honest opinion on the game. With that said, let's head down to the table to see how the solo mode in this one plays, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. To set up a solo game of Amalfi Renaissance, begin by placing the game board out on the table. Then place out a player board as well. Next I need to fill out the sort of main board with all of the different components that need to get placed out. And I'll start up here in the left corner and sort of work my way down and across the board. So first up here in the top left corner are the decree cards. And these decree cards you'll see later when I get into gameplay are going to be sort of the end round scoring conditions. So I'm going to simply just take the stack of those, give those a little shuffle, and then place 4 of those out randomly in these 4 slots. And you'll notice that on the board there are some values printed, and each of these tiles is going to have a different section of that tile cut out. So some of those values will show through these holes and be basically modifiers to whatever point values are already printed on those tiles. And I'll explain what those tiles are when I get into gameplay. So let's continue setting up the board. Next at the top of the board here is where the artwork cards go. So I'm going to simply take that deck of artwork cards, give those a good shuffle, and then I will place out cards in the first 5 slots face up, like this. Placing the deck here, and then leaving this final space for a discard pile. Next, moving down the board here, we're going to place out the private destination tiles. There are a lot of them, so they've given you 2 spaces here to place them out. There's no reason which tiles go into which stack. It's simply 2 stacks of tiles, so you don't have one super large stack on the board. So for each stack, I'm going to give them a shuffle and then place them out on the board like that. And then again, same thing for the second stack. Then from those 2 stacks, choosing from either stack as I'd like, I will place out 5 of them onto the board. Like that. Next, continuing over here will be the title tiles, and the title tiles are basically going to work as sort of in-game scoring, sort of contract fulfillment type of scoring. And those title tiles come in 2 different varieties, light-backed and dark-backed. For every game, you're going to play with 2 of the lighter-backed and 1 of the darker-backed. These are a little bit easier, and this is a little bit harder to fulfill. So I'm going to shuffle those up, putting out 2 lighter-backed title cards and 1 darker-backed. And then finally, the last piece to set up the main board are the character cards down here. But before I can set up those character cards, I'm going to need to set up my play area, because every player is going to start with a set of 6 cards of a sort of matching type. There are different sets of cards in the game. And once I've sort of seen this, I'm going to choose which of those sets to start with. And basically those sets are going to have some kind of focus in what the cards are going to do. So there is a set that focuses on red artwork, a set that focuses on green artwork, a set that focuses on blue artwork, a set that's marked with this wild resource, so I'm guessing it focuses on resources, a set that focuses on building ships, and finally a set that focuses on these private destinations. And choosing one at random just by flipping over this deck and taking a look, I see that this card is marked with the green artwork symbol, so I'm going to focus on that set for this playthrough. So let me go ahead and find the 6 cards of that set and place them out. And then the remaining sets will stay in this deck of character cards and get shuffled in as normal character cards for gameplay. So here you see the 6 starting cards that I'm going to start with, all of them marked with that green symbol in the corner. And I'll show you what these cards are and how they work later when I get into how the game plays. But first, the rest of those character cards have been mixed in with the normal character cards. I'm going to shuffle those up, and then we will place them here, again leaving one space for a discard pile, and then filling in these 4 spaces with characters. Just like that. Then I need to finish setting up my own player board, and first I need to choose a color for this playthrough. I will be playing as green. So first I'm going to fill in these slots here with my boats, these 6 slots down here with some lighthouse tokens, placing my final 4 boats up here in my bay. And then it doesn't really matter in the solo game because I am the only player, but the game also comes with, for this circle up here, tokens to mark which starting set of cards you're using. So because I am using those green artwork cards, I'm going to place that there. I'm then going to set aside 3 green cubes to be used for these scoring conditions when I've fulfilled them. This token that says 200 and 100 on the 2 sides, that's going to mark when I completely go around the score track. This sort of octagonal piece that's going to be the score tracker that I'll set over here by the start of the score track. And then finally, this little piece of bread that's going to track my food. And I start with 3 food. And then finally, I will be playing against an AI opponent in this game. Now, they're not going to be scoring or sort of interacting with the game in any way aside from blocking spaces on the board. So they don't need a board or any other those kinds of components. I simply need to prepare the ships and lighthouses for the AI. So I'm just going to place these off to the side. They're going to be off screen, but they aren't anything that's going to matter until I bring them back onto the screen. And with that, we are all set up for our playthrough. So Amalfi Renaissance is going to play out over a series of 4 rounds, as indicated here by my 4 decree tiles. And each of those rounds is going to have 3 phases. The first phase is the action phase, and this is going to be the bulk of gameplay. And that's when I'm going to be using my ships to place out onto the board, or eventually potentially into private destinations, in order to take a variety of different actions. And once I've passed and stopped my action phase, I'll then move on to the feeding phase, where I need to pay a certain number of food to feed all of my sailors, depending on the number of ships that I have. The starting fleet will take 2 food at the end of the round, but for each additional ship that I build, I will increase that up to a total of 8 food if I have built all of the ships. So after taking my actions, I will need to pay food to feed those sailors. And then finally, the decree phase, where I will activate or score based on whatever that round's scoring condition is, before resetting the board in a couple of different ways to set up for the following round. And again, that happens 4 times, and at the end of the game, I will check my points against a score threshold. But there is actually one more piece to the sort of solo mode gameplay that I'll explain in just a minute after I've talked about sort of the base rules of this game. So again, starting each round, we begin with the action phase. And there are 6 main actions that can be taken in the action phase. So I'm going to go ahead and explain those to you now. And they are actually printed right here on the player board. So just quickly, I'm going to show that up close for you so you can see that. And the 6 different actions you can take are navigating to a location to take the action with one of your ships, acquiring artwork, exploring and finding a new private destination, inviting a character into your sort of game zone, your character play area, engaging one of the engageable characters, and then finally constructing boats. So let me explain how each of those 6 actions works. The first action is the navigation action, and that's where I'm going to take one of my ships and place it on an available location that does not already have a ship placed in it. And you can see that all of those locations are the ones marked here with a ship on the board. And in addition, I'll explain in a minute, I can find some of these new destinations, in which case I will have them available here, and I can place on those as well. This row down here is not able to be placed on because these haven't been discovered yet. So when I place out my boat, I'm going to do whatever it says on the banner below where I place it. So for this wine, fabric, gem, spice, wood, and wild location, as well as these two spice and wood locations here, they're all going to sort of work the same way. And the way that is I need to pay the cost of whatever is printed on there in food. So 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, and 2, or over here 4 or 4. And once I've paid that amount of food by sliding to the left, I will then get whatever resources it shows. And the way that you get resources in this game is actually one of the things that makes it very unique, in that your ships that are your workers in this case are also what are going to be used to mark any resources that you've gained. So for example, if I send a ship over here to this wine area, I would pay 2 bread, and then I would place 2 of my ships, because it says 2 ships on that location, into my wine resource hold. And now these are effectively a store of wine and not ships that are available to me. And you'll see here marked on the player board, this one says that each ship is worth 2 spice, and the rest of them will be 3 per ship. So 3 wood per ship, 3 wine per ship, 3 gems per ship, or 3 fabric per ship. So what this means is I now have 6 wine resources to spend on something that requires wine. So again, this wine, fabric, gem, spice, wood, wild resource, because this can be any of those 5, spice and wood spaces all work in that same way. There are 3 other locations on the board that basically work similarly in that you place a ship and do what it says, but they're going to be doing slightly different things. This one down here, when I place, is simply going to increase my food stores by 4, and then it's going to cause me to remove the rightmost character card from this available row down here at the bottom. This space right here is going to allow me to place 1 lighthouse, and then it's going to remove this rightmost artwork card from the game. And finally, this bottom one is going to be the same one as that, except in order to take this action, I have to spend 2 bread, and then I can place a lighthouse and remove the rightmost artwork card. So as you can see in these 2 spaces, I am placing out lighthouses, and lighthouses are going to work like this. When I place a lighthouse, I'm going to take the leftmost lighthouse from my board, and I'm going to place it in any of these slots. I don't know how easy it is to see from above, but there's a recessed area in the board here, 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 and here. And later on, when these tiles end up moving here or getting placed over here, those also have spaces for lighthouses in them. And I'm going to place my lighthouse into one of those spots. And what a lighthouse does is, anytime somebody places a ship at the location that has your lighthouse, you have a choice of one of 2 things. You can immediately spend 2 food to place 1 ship in your supply into the resource matching the location where that lighthouse is. Or you can simply gain 1 food instead. And that's going to be true for if the AI places their ship there, or if I place my own ship on that location. In addition, you'll see here marked on the board, at this location and at this final location, you will trigger whatever it shows on the board when that lighthouse gets played. So this red hand shows me that any of my engaged characters, I can unengage or reactivate one of them. And here I could instead draft 1 card from the characters at the bottom of the board. So that's how a navigation action works. Next, the remaining actions, aside from the engage action, which I'll explain separately in just a minute, are going to be the ways that I'm spending these resources to do things, to sort of activate the engine of the game and ultimately to score points. And the first one is acquiring artwork. And in order to acquire artwork, we're simply going to pay the resource cost in the top left of the card, and we will score whatever points are shown in the top right of this card. And then we will also do whatever the icon in the middle of this card tells me to do. So in this case, I would need to pay 6 fabric, and I would score 7 points. And then this red hand means that if I had one of these engageable cards that I'd already used the power of, I could unengage them or reactivate that card from that symbol. This one would allow me to place 1 lighthouse. This one allows me to gain food. And the other cards in there are also going eventually to allow me to increase or to activate 1 ship's worth of resources based on whatever resource is shown on that card. And then I will be taking that card sort of into my player area because those might score certain goals over here and also certain goals in the decrees as well. In addition, when I take this rightmost card as printed here, I will be gaining 1 food. And if I want to take any of these 3 leftmost cards, I need to pay an additional number of resources of any type equal to the value printed on the board. So these 2 will require 1 extra resource, and this one will require 2 extra resources. You'll also notice that some of these artwork cards contain 2 resources. That means I can pay either gems or wood or a combination of both to pay for that card, but a total of 8 resources. So how do I pay for these cards? Well, you've seen then that I've put my ships into this hold. So for example, this red card right now says 4 wine, and it's in a slot that costs 2 more. So if I had these 2 ships in here, which are each worth 3 wine, I could simply slide them back into my bay to generate 6 wine, and then use that 6 wine to buy that card. Again, getting 7 points, getting 1 food, and then putting that card into sort of my collection of art. But let's say, for example, I had this card over here. Now I'm only paying 4 wine, and each of these ships is worth 3. So there's no way for me to pay exactly. It means I'm always going to have change from that purchase. So if I spend these 2 ships and now have 6 available wine, and I'm only spending 4 wine, that leaves me with 2 remaining sort of resource points of wine. And any remaining points you have of that certain resource after making some kind of purchase of either these or characters or these private destinations, any available resources left over are going to spill over and become food. So if I bought this 4 with a 6, I would increase my food by 2. So that's the acquisition action. The next action is the sort of exploration, discovery action, where you are going to be finding these private destinations. And those are going to work very similarly. Again, paying the resource cost up here in the top left corner, scoring the points over here in the top right corner, and then this is going to be added into my player area as a new location that I can navigate to in future turns or future rounds to do whatever it says on that card. And also this card might score some points for some of the in-game and end of round goal scoring as well. And just like the artwork, this space will give me 1 food. These 2 spaces are going to cost 1 additional resource, and this space over here will cost 2 additional resources. And I should mention that anytime I remove something from the board, everything will shift over and refill. But I'm going to hold off on that for a minute because the AI will make things change up in that aspect just a little bit. So I'll explain how the refresh works as soon as I get into the AI overview. The next action is inviting characters. And inviting characters is going to work similarly to the artwork and the private destination, except I'm going to be only interacting with the characters that I have in my hand. These characters can only come into my hand based on actions that allow that to happen. And I did realize I just forgot to mention one thing. When you are placing out on the board, if you place in any of these 3 locations, you can see printed there that you get 1 character. And this get 1 character means come from here into your hand. And you can choose to do that before or after you do whatever this is. So that is mainly how you'll be getting characters into your hand, but also some of the artwork cards will also have an icon that allow you to recruit 1 character as well. But again, the invitation action is going to be placing characters from your hand into this play area over here. And again, very similarly with these cards, the cost that you'll pay will be in the top left corner, except now you'll see some of them can take food instead of just the regular resources, but most of them are going to be resources just like the artwork and the private destinations. But you'll notice that the characters are not going to score you any points. Instead, they're going to give you some kind of ability. And there are 4 different card types in the game that look like this. The lightning bolt is a sort of one-time instant ability. The infinity symbol is an ongoing ability that you'll keep as long as that character is in your area. The red hand is engageable, which means you can use it once and turn it to the side until it becomes refreshed, and then you can do that again once as well until it refreshes again. And then finally, this sort of cross icon is all going to be end game scoring bonuses. And I'll explain what all of these cards do in just a minute when I do get into gameplay. But understand that there are 4 different types of cards that work differently, but all of them are invited by simply paying whatever the cost is in the top left of that card. The next action is simply to engage one of those engageable characters that are in your play area that does count as an action. And then finally, the 6th and final action is construction. And construction is going to cost a different amount of resources depending on which round you're doing it. But construction is basically taking one of these boats from the supply and adding it into what's called your port area, which means you don't get access to that boat in the turn that it's built. You have to wait until a future round because at the beginning of every round, everything in your port will refresh back into your bay. And the cost of putting these ships into your port is going to change based on the round, as I mentioned. In the first round, each ship costs 5 wood. In the second round, each ship costs 4 wood. The third round, again, 4 wood. And finally, in the fourth and final round, each ship will only cost 3 wood to build. But again, if you build them in the in the fourth round when they do only cost 3, it might be good for sort of scoring goals, but unless you have a card that allows you to move ships from your port to your bay, that means you've built them and they're not going to do anything because the fourth round is the final round and they'll never refresh into the bay. So those are the 6 main actions, but I just want to mention there are a couple other small things that you can do. Anytime you've got ships in your resource area for free, instead of spending them to buy something or to use them for resources, you can always slide them down into the bay to simply pick up a number of food equal to whatever that was worth. So if I had a ship in a gem area, I could slide it to my bay and simply gain 3 food. Likewise, if I had one in my spice area, I could slide it back and simply gain 2 food. In addition, at any point, I can discard any of my cards in hand to the discard pile in order to increase my food stores by 1. And that's going to be important because remember, after the action phase, we go into the feed phase, and if I have a lot of ships built, I will need lots of food to feed those sailors. One final thing that's possible to do is, at any time, I can move a boat directly from the bay into my port to gain 3 of any resource. But again, once it's in my port, that boat is then useless. So that's something I'm only going to need to do or be really wanting to do sort of at the end of each round when I've run out of options and I want one final push to get something. I can slide a boat or 2 down here to get some resources to buy something as a sort of final last-ditch effort in that round. So that's how the action phase works. And then after the action phase, we're going to feed, spending food to feed the people on our ships. And then we'll go into the decree phase. And in the decree phase, we're going to score points based on the goal of that round. So let me go through what those 4 goals are right now. The first one says mobilization. It says 3 points in the window. So 3 plus 2 is 5 points per ship, but I don't count these original 4 ships. So in the first round, I might want to build 1 or 2 ships so I can score some points for that. Next is the blessing. The window says 2. It says 2 plus 10 means 12 points per set of red, green, and blue artwork cards. So if I have one of each of these artwork cards at the end of the second round, I will score 12 points. Otherwise, it says or 1 plus 3 or 4 points per 2 artwork cards that don't match. So if I have pairs of non-matching cards, I can score 3 plus 1, 4 points for each of those pairs. But if I have a full set of red, green, or blue, or more than one, I'm going to score, again, 12 points per set of all 3 colors. The next one here I have is called universalism, and that says I'm scoring 1 plus 1 or 2 points per artwork, 1 point per private destination, and 1 point per character that I have here, here, or here. It means all of the stuff that I've built or created or recruited or whatever the verb is. 2 points per art, 1 point per destination, and 1 point per character in my game zone, basically. And then finally, the 4th round that I've got for this game is adulation. says 3 point per artwork of the type in greater number. So if I have one color that's more than the other colors, however many cards of that will be multiplied by 3 points per card of that color. So again, after the decree phase, we're going to remove this rightmost card here, remove this rightmost card here, and actually slide this rightmost tile up into here to become a new location or a new ability in that location. And that's basically it for the game. We're going to do that for 4 rounds, except that I am playing the solo game, so I do want to explain to you how that works. And the solo game, again, works with an AI, but the AI is basically just there to get in your way. They're not scoring any points. And the way that that works is for every action you take, the AI is going to follow up with an action of their own. And this game comes with 2 different difficulty levels for that AI. The more simple Kingdom of Naples AI, and then the more difficult Republic of Genoa AI. And for this playthrough, I'm going to start with the Republic of Genoa. I might switch down to Naples. If at some point in the middle of the game I fail, I will then switch to the lower level so that I can continue playing out the game and show you how the game plays through. And let me explain why that is. First off, the actions I can take, depending on the action I take, the AI is going to respond in some way. If I take the navigation action and place out on one location, the AI is going to check the rightmost card over here. And in the case of Naples, they'll simply be checking the resource in the top left corner. But in the case of Genoa, they'll also be checking the icon in the middle. And the AI is going to place their ships out in any locations matching the colors here in the top left corner, which means in this case, gem and wood, they would actually place a ship here and here as well because there are 2 resources marked on that card. Then, if I'm playing against Genoa, the more difficult AI, which I will be this time, they're going to check the center symbol. And this red hand and this food will do nothing. But if the card has this lighthouse symbol, they're going to place their ship at the lighthouse location. If the card has one of those gain a character symbols, they will place their ship down here in this bread and remove a character space. And if the card has any resource printed on it, they will place their ship at the wild resource location. So that's the navigation action. For the acquire action, if I acquire any piece of artwork, they will simply remove the rightmost card after I've acquired. So every time I will be basically removing 2 from the row and refreshing 2 each time. Likewise for the private destinations, if I take any private destination, they will discard the rightmost private destination from the board. Anytime I invite a character from my hand into my game zone, the AI is going to remove the rightmost character from the game. Anytime I engage one of my engageable characters, the AI is going to place their ship in the topmost location on this sort of right side of the board over here. And then finally, anytime I take a construction action, the AI is going to place out their lighthouse in the location matching the resources here on the rightmost private destination tile. So in this case, they would place their lighthouse here in this spice location. So that's basically all the AI is doing, except that the solo mode also adds in sort of one more level of thing that needs to be accomplished in order not to fail the game. I haven't talked about them yet, but we have these 3 title tiles over here that are offering sort of contract-based in-game scoring opportunities. And in the solo mode, that's going to be even more important because these are going to be sort of requirements that I need to do in order to not fail the game. With the Kingdom of Naples, the sort of easy or standard mode of the solo, I need to have accomplished at least one of these by the end of round 3, and at least 2 of them by the end of the game. However, for the Republic of Genoa, the more advanced version or the more difficult version, at the end of the 2nd round, I will have needed to accomplish 1 of these. End of the 3rd round, I will have accomplished 2 of these, and by the end of the game and 4th round, I will have to have accomplished all 3 of those titles. So there's a chance that at the end of the 2nd round, if I haven't accomplished any of these and I would instantly fail the game, that's when I will switch down to the lower difficulty level and continue playing as if I was playing on the lower difficulty level, just so that you can see me play out to the end of the game, because I've never completely failed on the lower level, but I have several times on the more difficult level. So I want to show you the challenge, but if I fail, I don't want you to get half a video, so I will complete the game on the lower level. So with all that said, we are ready to get into gameplay. But quickly before I do that, let me explain what those 3 goals are, and then I will explain to you all of the cards that are currently showing on the screen. So my goals, we start with 2 regular goals and 1 more difficult goal. These 2, the courtier says I need to have 6 characters invited. The zealot says I need to have 4 of any one color of artwork. And then finally the visionary, the more difficult one, says that I need to have 2 of those endgame scoring bonus characters invited, as well as 4 of my 6 lighthouses out somewhere on the board. All right, so then looking at my cards first. Here I've got an engageable card that lets me take the bonus of 1 artwork from the workshop without buying or acquiring that artwork. Here I've got an ongoing ability that after I make use of a lighthouse, either spending the 2 food to get a resource or collecting 1 food, I'm going to earn 1 point and an additional 1 food. Here's an endgame scoring goal that says I'm going to earn 4 for each of my green artwork cards. And there's a lot of those out on the board right now, so that looks nice. Plus I have that goal down here that I want 4 of a single color. Also nice. And here I have another goal, all of a single color. So I'm trying to aim green for sure. Here I've got another ongoing that says I'm going to pay 1 resource, or sorry, pay 1 less resource to acquire green cards, which would be cool if I can get that out early. And here an ongoing ability that each pair of boats on green is actually going to get me 7 resources instead of 6. And then finally this guy for 4 food is a one-time 2 boats in the gem resource area. So all of those look like they could be very useful this game. But remembering I may end up having to use 1 or 2 of them at some point to get some more food, because food does get tight fairly easily in this game. All right, then looking at the next 4 available cards to us. This is an instant activation 4 ships in Spice. This is an instant activation 1 ship for free. That could be amazing to have early, especially because that first goal is scoring on ships. This is an activation card or engageable card that I'm going to pay 3 food to move 1 boat or 1 ship from one of my own private destinations back to the bay. So I can reuse a ship that I've sent out to one of my private destinations. And finally, in another engageable card, lets me gain the bonus of a red artwork, put that red artwork in the discard, and then take out either a green or a blue from the discard. So this could actually let me get rid of reds and add more greens moving forward. So put those back out on the board and get into gameplay. So looking at everything available to me, a lot of characters I'd like to engage or activate. I need to be focused on getting boats. I need to be focused on long-term lighthouses and endgame scoring. So I don't want to get rid of that endgame scoring card. Picking up green artwork and 6 characters. So green artwork and 6 characters is sort of my instant focus, because I need to get 1 of those done by the end of the 2nd round or I instantly lose the game. Or in my case, switch down to the easier difficulty level. But that should be doable, especially with all that green out there on the board and lots of characters that are going to be useful for both getting green and then also scoring on 6 characters. So, I would love to get this guy. But in order to do that, I need to go to one of these 3 locations, or put out a ship that gets me people, or hope that a card here comes out later that gets me people. So I don't know if that's going to happen soon, but let's see what we can do before that. I would love to get some green stuff and get some characters out. Pay 1 less resource to get green is not that great, except that it does sort of cover that additional cost, which is good. For 4 wine, I know wherever I place, he's going to place on fabric first, so I don't really care about that. Boats on green gets me more is good when I have more boats, but I don't right now. So this paying 1 less to get green is probably not a bad thing to do. So I'm going to send a boat to red to spend 2 bread and put 2 of my boats in wine, which means the AI is going to place out on fabric like that. Then I'm instantly going to spend that 6 wine, because those are each 3, so I can't spend only 3. I need 4 to play this guy out, which means I've got 2 left, gets me 2 bread or 2 food back again. And because I put this character there, this character is going to go away. So if I want this card, I have to get this card before I invite any more characters. The next card that comes out is an endgame that gets me 2 points per character, which might also be really strong because I'm going to have lots of characters, and I do need a second endgame anyway. Then, ooh, you know what? I like this one. This private destination says pay a bread or pay 1 food to get a character and 1 wild resource. That could be very useful. But to get that, I need 4 spice. And I'm not really planning on that much stuff right now. Hold on. I want some, yeah, I want some gems. If I do that, that's 4. That gets me that. That's no. I need this. And I can do it with that. Then I got to focus on green stuff, but that's okay. All right, so I am going to do that. I'm going to go here to spend 2 bread to get 2 there, which means they're navigating again the fabric, but they're already there, so nothing. Then I spend that 4 spice to take this private destination here, which gets me 5 points. And then, because I took that, they're going to discard this one, and these all slide down and refill. Like this. Then I don't have food at the moment. Problem is, I don't have, yeah, you know what? I don't need to focus on these right now because at the end of the round, this goes away, this gets here, which means it gets me food, still gives me the ability to get more than 1. That's okay. I want this guy more than anything. So I'm going to move to my own location, spending 1 bread, recruiting this character, which means I get 1 bread back from that location. Recruiting 1 character and then placing in any resource that I want to. So looking at what's available to me, I can't get a 6 from 1 resource. Anything here is not going to get me anything. I need 4 food for him. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it in a 3 resource for no reason. You'll see in a minute. These all slide over like that. Again, because I navigated there, the AI will be placing here, but they've already done that, so that's it. Then I'm simply going to move this down to get 3 food. And then I'm going to spend 4 food to play that guy there, which says construct 1 boat for free. Playing him gets rid of this card, like that. These all slide down. Like that. Now the problem is I'd love both of these cards, but I can't. The end of the round, this is going to go away. Although I could take it right now, but then at the end of the game, this is going to go away, and 2 points per character at the end of the game could be really good for me. So, I've got 1 ship left. I've got no food left. I need food to pay my ships. I need food for future stuff. So I'm going to send this here. If I send that here, I get 4 food, but I lose this guy, and then at the end of the round, I'm going to lose that guy. I think it's going to have to happen, though. Because otherwise, I don't have enough food, and I'm not throwing away 3 cards. So, yeah, I have to. Playing there gets me 4 food. This guy goes away. Those all slide down. Again, because I placed there, he goes to there. Can't, so that's that. I have nothing left to do. I have no more resources. I could spend 4 bread to get this, but that's 2 boats in green, and I don't have any boats to put there, so it wouldn't mean anything anyway. So that's the end of my turn, which is a little scary, because that means next turn I need 4 characters or 4 green in the same turn. And I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Okay, then. Feeding. I need 3. 1, 2, 3 food. And decrease 5 points per ship. I've got 1. That's not the 4 that I started with, so that gets me 5 points to it. 10 points there. That goes away at the end of the first round. This card goes bye-bye. Those slide down, this flips over. Then, this slides up to here. Those all move over, and one more flips. This character goes away, unfortunately. They slide down. Very quickly, the new character is available to me. This one pays none of the extra resource to discover locations. This is a engageable that gets me the bonus of a green card and lets me swap it for a red or a blue in the discard. This is an instant that gets me 3 wine ships, and this one is ongoing. Pay 1 less resource to acquire one of the 2 artworks with the most points. Okay. Then I should have already, but I'm going now. All of my ships come back. This comes back up like that. And we go into the second round. Again, I need to focus on 4 green cards in a single round. Don't think that's going to happen. Or 4 characters getting placed out, which could potentially happen. Especially these 3 are fairly cheap ones. But let's see where we go. He's also super cheap. I don't like it. I'm not going to discover much, but very cheap. 4 green or blue, 4 wood, 4 food. Right now I only have 1 food, which is a problem. Can't do much with 1 food. I would not mind prioritizing something from here. Extra green resources could be nice, but that's a lot of stuff for something that's not really all that helpful. Instant green could be cool too, as that's 4 food, gets me green, which I could then spend on things. But to get that 4 food is going to be hard. Because I can go here. Yeah, let's do it. I need to focus on getting this 6 things done. So watch this. I'm going here. Except doing that, he's going to block green. Anyway, that's not a problem for right now. I'm going here, spend 1 food to recruit 1 person. I'm going to take this one because they're cheap. But so is this. 2 wood or 3 things. But he also gets me a food, so I need that. All right, so I take him, I get that food. And 1 wild resource, which I'm going to use to get green. No, food doesn't matter. Yeah, so I'm going to get anything. Those slide down like that. This flips up. Because then, hold on, doing that, I went here, he places it green. Sorry, this should have come off at the start of the round. He places it green, blocking that. Then I will slide this back to get 3 food and use 4 food to play this guy, which gets me 2 green. Playing him means this card goes away. Those slide down like that. And sorry, just a second, pause. He places a green, but I also have to check the center now. The red hand didn't mean anything, but the lighthouse does. They're going to play on this lighthouse space right there. Then I'm sliding these 2 down for 6 green, using 4 of them to play that character. And the other 2 gets me 2 food. Again, playing a character, she goes away, they slide down. So now I've got a card that constructs for free. This one gets me 4 points for each lighthouse at the end of the game. And this guy, whenever I gain a character from here, I can pay 3 to take it from the discard instead. Then, I need to get 2 more characters going. One of which can be for food, so I'm not too worried about that. And one of which could be 2 wood, which is also super easy. Then, I want green stuff. But 1 green's not enough to get 6. And 3 food it costs to get me 2 green otherwise. I am paying -1 to get that, so it's only 5, but still, getting to 6 is tricky. Hold on a minute. I'm going to undo that for a second. I don't have that 2 food. Because I can go to get that instead. Gets me 1 food. Yeah, let's do that. Instead of, that was mine. And she comes back. Instead of doing that, I'm actually going to use that 6 green to take this for 5 green, which the 1 difference gets me a 1. This one here gets me a 1. Yeah, that's fine. Then I get this lighthouse, which means I get to place out a lighthouse. This is going to go away, so next time I place, he's going green and wood. He's already got gems, so I'm going to place that at wood, like that. Yeah, this is smarter. Then this gets discarded. These slide down like that. And that. Ugh, where's all the green? Then, because I can get this card with blue instead of green, and that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going here, spending 2 bread to get 2 blue, which means they're going to green and wood and lighthouse. They're already at green and lighthouse, so they're going to wood, which means I could spend 2 food to get a wood, which I don't have any. So instead, I'm just going to take 1 food. Then my turn again, I'm spending 6 blue to play that for 4 blue, which gets me 2 food back again. Yes. And playing that, now she does go away. So I just pushed everything 1 round later. That's better. Okay, then I need 2 more people, which could be 4 food and 2 wood. I think that might be the option. Hold on a minute. I need 7 for that. I can't get it. I may end up getting one of these just to have the pair to score at the end of the round and to clear out some of that stuff. But I don't want to lose that, and there's no way for me to get it right now. Huh. Maybe red is what I'm focused on. It's stupid because I'm scoring on green, but maybe I don't. Anyway, let's see what we're doing. I need to get 2 more things made. If I go there, that gets me 6 wood, that gets me that, but that doesn't help. Constructing boats could be a good one too. If I go there, I spend 2 red to get 6 wine. Could spend a 6 wine there to get that. Get the points and the bread. Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. I'm going to red, which puts those to wine. He's going to green and wood, and lighthouse already has nothing. I get 6 wine, and with that 6 wine, I'm spending 4 to get that. 4 gets me 2 more bread, 1, 2, plus the bread from that card is 1 up to 6. I can't remember, but I think I forgot to pay that too. 1, 2. Then I get 7 points for that red card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ah, I did the wrong thing. No. None of that works. None of that works. I wanted that, but that's a +1. Bread doesn't mean anything. The point was to get this card. Yeah, that's a mistake. No, that's not a mistake. Sorry. It is a mistake, but I don't get the extra 2 or the extra 1. But I am taking that 6 is what I was aimed at, sorry. So I should have 5 plus the 5 from the last round is 10, and I didn't score that, is 16, and then 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that, 6. I think that's right. 5 and 5 is 6. Those 2 ships were 6. And I'm pretty sure I didn't pay for that twice, but if I did, so be it. All right, then, because I took that, this one goes away, which is sad because green is what I want, but it is what it is. Blue and blue. And doing that, I did take this guy. Those slide down. This flips over. Then I want to play one of these here to get 4 food. Hold on a minute. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. 4 food. 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm up to 5. And this card goes away. So these slide down. This flips over like that. He's going to red. I'm already there. He can't do anything. Then I am spending 1, 2, 3, 4 food to play that guy to construct for free because I need to. The problem is I'm in trouble for food. But that's okay, because I need to survive this game first, and that's the more important thing. Yeah, so that's that. I get that. I played him, so this guy goes away again. They slide down. Like that. And I triggered this. So realistically, I could have taken that card before it went away. And not that one. Yeah, you know what? I am. I'm taking that card and getting that food. Good. Then that means this card goes away and those slide down like that. Good. So I've got 5. I need one more character. I could do that to get this guy. He's not going to help me any, but is worth it. Because then I get my 6. Is there any way to turn this into anything else that does the same thing? No. As they all cost more than 3 resources, I don't have the food to do anything with. So I'm going to slide this down like that, which gets me 3 wild resources. 2 of them I'm going to spend on this guy. Means I get 1 food back from that transaction. And that finishes my first goal for 12 points. 1, 2 is 24, and 10 is 34. Which means I didn't fail the game yet. I'm still on the difficulty level because I have finished this by the end of round 2. That's great. And that's the end of my turn, although doing that I placed him means this guy goes away, and these slide down like that. Now I need to feed. Problem is I need 4 food and I have 3, so I can trash somebody. Pairs of green gets me 7 instead of 6. I don't know that that's going to be helpful anymore. Or take the bonus of 1 thing from the workshop. That's even less helpful. Yeah. He's going away for 1 food, which means I pay 4 to feed. I'm good. Then, scoring this decree, which says 2 plus 10 per set of red, green, and blue. I only have red and green. Or 1 plus 3 per 2 non-matching. So I do have 2 non-matching. That's 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4 points. That goes away. Then this card is trash. Like that. This card slides up. Like that. Flipping a new one over here. This card goes away, sliding over. 4 per pair of characters and artwork. I like that quite a bit. So maybe these are the 2 I score and not the 4 per green. And red is definitely my focus right now. Although I can only get 1 red without everything going crazy. And I need 3 more red cards or 3 more green cards by the end of this round. Which is not good. Because I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll see. And again, if it doesn't, I will switch to the lower difficulty level. All of my boats come back. All of the red boats go away like this. I need to focus on, well, if I could place these 2 out and get 3 more lighthouses, that would do the same thing. Getting me this one keeps me alive. Let's see. Anyway, I'm going to prioritize this. So I am going to play, I don't have any food though. If I go here, he blocks red and green. I don't have any food. I can go for here, but then this goes away, and I want that lighthouse. Refreshing a red hand is great, but I don't have any. That's another problem. I don't have food, and I don't want to trash 2 cards. Maybe I do. Maybe I do. Yeah, I'm going to trash these 2 cards. I don't know if it's a good idea, but I'm going to do it to get 2 food. Because then I'm going to go to red, using that 2 food. Yeah. To get 2 in the wine area, which means he's placing at wine and gems. I'm already at wine, so he's going to take the gem spot. Then I'm spending those 6 wine, which does nothing to take that. So now I've got 2 red. I'm placing out a lighthouse from that. And that lighthouse will go at blue, because that's where he's going next. This goes away. I get the food for that. And I get 4 points for that red card. 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. These all slide down. Come on, red. None of those are what I wanted. Great. Then I need to get this card, play those 2 cards, and 2 more lighthouses, potentially. 8 is hard, though. 8 is real hard. Yeah. In any case, I'm going here, spending 1 food to recruit a card. Is this going to be the only thing I do this turn to recruit? It might be. Wait, hold on a minute. No, I'm not going there. Yeah, because I have to pay 2 food there. Never mind, I am. I wanted to go there to place the lighthouse instead and recruit a character that way. But I don't have the bread, and I can't get rid of him. Yeah, no. Oh, but I could take a turn to get rid of that. Yeah, why not? I may end up running out of ships, but let's try it. I get 4 bread. She goes away, because now this lady's in a prime spot. That flips. 2 wood, I don't care. He's placing in blue, which is my lighthouse, which means I could spend 2 to get a blue. I'm not gonna. I get a food. And then because of this card, I get 1 more food and 1 point. Like that. Good. But now I don't have enough resources to get anything. The best I can do is 1 of these. Yuck. Yeah, we're gonna have to drop down. I don't know that I'm gonna get what I need to get ever, let alone this turn. But I need this. So I'm gonna go here, spending 2 bread, 1, 2, to place out a lighthouse, which doesn't particularly matter where. Except that I might trigger that again. I might use something else this turn too. Hold on. Like wild would be interesting. No. Will I use that? What can I do with 6 green? Nothing. Goes there, I guess. No, I'm gonna put it there. Then I place 1 boat in green like that. I place there, so he goes to blue and... Yeah, he should have placed here, but I was already there when he did, so that's fine. Again, blue and here are already blocked. Then, yuck. I get to take that card. Those slide down. Cheaper building, I don't need that. Okay. Now I could, but it's not gonna matter because I only have 3 lighthouses built. I only have 3 lighthouses built, and there's no way for me to do both of those. There's no red or green cards out there. So you know what? I'm going to make the decision right now. I'm dropping down to the standard difficulty and not the extreme difficulty. And then doing so, I'm not focused on this for right now. I'm instead going to play here, placing out one more lighthouse in green. And scrapping this card because I want to cycle through to hopefully find more red, potentially green. All right, there's a red, but that's a 7. Okay. Then, placing there means he's again going to blue and the middle, since it's still, I haven't dropped officially until I fail. I've got my 4 lighthouses, but I'll never get these 2 out. The best I can do right now is, well, I could build one of these right now if I wanted to. Or I could take that red lighthouse right now. Because I can slide this down for 3. But that's 3 green. And then down here 2 more would be 9. Means I could build out one of those. But that's green and not red. Could also use that 9 to take a green here. But I don't have any boats to place in red, so that's useless. Having 2 red for free is not a bad thing to have. But that takes 4 spice. And I don't have spice right now. Bread is doing me no good. Because I don't have any boats. Alright, well then we are going to fail, but that's okay. I'm going to do that. 3 green, 6 green, 9 green, and play her, which gets me 1 food back. Effectively, I've just lost the game on the difficult setting, but I'm going to continue playing the last round on the more simple setting, or the standard difficulty setting, which means now I need to feed 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Although I guess because I built her, this guy should have gone away. These slide down like that. This flips over like that. Then, end of round, I score 2 points per art, 1 per destination, and 1 per character. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 points. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 47, 57, like that. This goes away. This goes away. Like that. All right, well, here's 2 reds for me. This slides up. These slide over. This goes away. These slide over like that. Discover 1 destination for free. Yeah, not having any engageable characters was a mistake this turn. So what I need to do is, in order to get both of these scored by the end of this round, is I need to get that, and I need to get 2 red cards. These all come back. These all come back. Getting 3 red is not easy. Especially I don't have any food, but all of it is doable. I am going to red for 2 food, getting 2 wine like that. AI pushes to blue, where I have a lighthouse, so I get 1 food, plus this character gets me 1 food and 1 point. Then they stay there. I'm going here, spending 1 food to get a character. None of these that I care about. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I do, hugely. This one says reduce the condition by 1 to complete these, which would mean this is automatically done because I already have 1 of these and 4 lighthouses. And this would already be done as soon as I get that 3 there. All right, so I'm taking that guy, spending a food. I wasn't planning on that, but that's going to work. And then 1 resource is going to be wine. That means AI again places to blue, can't. I spend 9 wine to get this 7 plus 1 is 8. So I get 1 food back. I get 6 points for that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. And 1 more lighthouse out on the board. I'll put the guy here in spicy. I took that, so this goes away. Those slide, this slides, filling in. Well, I don't need this guy. If I can put him out and get one more red, which is very doable, I don't need him. Then, wood and 3 food. Yeah, why not? All right, I'm going here because that recruits this for a food. Then I get a wood and 3 food, 1, 2, 3, like that. So you slide over. AI is placing in green and purple, or gems and spice. Gems here is my lighthouse. Spice is my lighthouse. Both are mine, which means after using 1 lighthouse, each earn 1 point and 1 food. That says 1 lighthouse, and that says each time. So that's going to trigger twice this time. So I might as well get resources. 3, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, okay. Spending 2 to get a green. Spending another 2 to get the spice. And then because I triggered 2 lighthouses, I get 2 food back and 2 points. Like that. Good. And then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 builds that guy, or invites that guy. So this goes there. These slide down like that. Doing that, I now have 2 endgame cards and 4 lighthouses out on the board. So I do score the visionary card for 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 70, 80, 90. Then finally, to focus on this last piece and also maximizing scoring, which is pairs of art and characters as well as lighthouses I've put out. I want to focus on getting more red cards and building my final lighthouse. So the cheapest one of those is 5, although +1, so 6. I got some bread, but I am going to need to pay 4 at the end. Well, that's okay. Yeah, the only way for me to get cards now is these. Because green is blocked, blue is blocked, red is blocked, spice is blocked. The only resource left is wood, which I don't care about unless I want to build more ships, but nothing is scoring on ships, so that's useless. But I might as well use that to get there. So I'm going to spend 1, 2, 3 food, send a boat there to place these 2 in wine. Means he's going to green spice, which is already blocked off. Then those come back. I take this red card for 5 + 1 is 6, which would be reactivating an engageable character, but I didn't get any this game, which is not the best thing in the world. But I do get 6 points for that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 96. Now I have 4 of a single color, which means I do get the Zealot award for 12 points. 1, 2 is 98, and 10 puts me over here at 108. Means I'm going to take out that green 100. I'm just going to stick it up here on my tile to remember it's been activated. 108. Now I have 2 more ships left. Because I did that, this goes away. This slides all down like that, and it fills in. I can't get any more of these except to just go crazy. But that might not be a bad idea. 4 points per pair of these. And I've got 5, and I've got 8. So I could get 3 more of those. Otherwise, another red would also get me another 3 points over here. So that would be 4 + 3 is 7. But that's the end of things. Otherwise, I can place 1 boat there to get a lighthouse. But I'm going to lose a ton of points because I don't have any food. So yeah, that's not the option. All right, then the option is this. I'm playing here to place my last lighthouse. I don't really care where. There just because it's available. And remove an artwork like that. These slide down like this. Okay. And Now he's playing on wine and spice, which are full already, doesn't matter. Then I've got this boat left, which has to be for food. 1, 2, 3, 4 food. This character goes away. They slide down. This flips over. I have nothing left. I'm not going to spend my 4 food on a card that does nothing for me because I do need to feed. This is the end of the round, so I feed for 4. Safe. I don't lose any points. I should have mentioned that in the beginning, and I'll leave a subtitle, but when I can't pay food, you do lose 3 points per boat that you can't feed. I also just realized I missed when I placed out that last lighthouse. I could have taken a character, but there's nothing that's gonna do anything for me right now. So even if I had taken this guy, it would have given me 1 extra food. I'd have 1 more food, which would have been 5. But if I spend that, then I'm going to lose 9 points just to pick up a thing that's useless. So let's say I took him and got 1 food. It doesn't mean anything. That's the end of the game. Because now I'm scoring 3 points per artwork of the type in the greater numbers, which is red is 4 times 3 is 12 points. So 10, 20. That's the end of that. There's no need to sort anything or rearrange anything because there are no more rounds. So the last all I'm going to do is score these 2. 4 points per pair of art and people. I've got 8 people and 5 art. So I'm scoring 5 times 4 is 20. Means 30, 40. And then finally this guy gets me 4 for each lighthouse. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is 24 points. So that's 50, 64. Finishing with a total score of 164 points, which checking the end of game score threshold for the solo mode. And again, I only managed to finish to the 4th period because I switched to the lower level. So ultimately I failed. I lost the game playing on the difficult level, but I did switch to the lower level and made it to the end with a score of 164, which says, from 126 to 175, by dint of perseverance, you will write your name in history of Amalfi. Keep hoping. Not the best, but it's definitely not the first level, and it's definitely not a fail. Except that, again, I did fail on the difficult level, but the difficult level is difficult for a reason. So that's basically it. Now, while I'm at the table, I do generally like to take a look at the components. And I want to say I absolutely adore the way this game looks. This is the sort of most not beige Euro I've ever seen on my table. It is very much trading in the Mediterranean kind of a game. Here's the Mediterranean. Here's my boats moving around, getting resources to spend on other things, to acquire artwork, to invite characters into my sort of, I don't know, employ. I don't think employ, but maybe invite to come see me or visit me, whatever it is. This is very much a straightforward, traditional trading in the Mediterranean kind of Euro. And they're usually super beige, but this game glows with color. I think you can see that on the screen. I hope you can see that on the screen. This is a very, very colorful game. Lots of blues and greens and reds, purples, and just everything really pops. I love the look of this artwork. It's sort of like Renaissance painting kind of artwork. Again, don't yell at me, art people. I don't know exactly what it is, but that's what it reminds me of. And I think it looks really, really cool. There are characters here, right here in my hand. Lorenzo Il Magnifico. There's lots of characters. Francisco Xavier. There's many, many, many characters from history that are our people. And it's the kind of thing that seeing these names and seeing these people, if you don't recognize a name, you might go check out and find out who is that person and so on. It's a really, really, really cool design style for this game. Again, looking at the components themselves, everything here has had love put into it. All of these slots for tiles are all dual layer. The way that these lighthouses fit into the board, the way that the boats and the food and the lighthouses all slot into your player board. Everything is just designed to be very, very user-friendly and designed to have a very nice user interface. Even these tiles have cutouts to put the lighthouse in. Even these tiles have a unique cutout in them to see the different point scores coming through. So every time you play, depending on which round that card comes out, it's got a different number of points in addition to the things that it's scoring from, changing every time. Really, really, really clever design as far as the physicality of this game goes. The card quality, they are pretty nice cards. They're a glossy finish, they're not a linen finish, and you may or may not notice it, but some of the cards are starting to curl a little. This room is pretty hot and kind of dry, so it does tend to happen with this kind of card, but there is a little bit of curling. These boards just slightly are starting to curl in the corners, but again, that's a climate issue and it is what it is. But everything looks great, it feels great, nothing feels cheap. And beyond that, now I know this is a sort of remade or reimagined version of Amalfi from the publisher Sylex and then distributed by R&R Games, but this game being originally from Uchibacoya in Japan. Uchibacoya is known for having really, really nice wooden components. And in that sense, this game shines as well. I'll show you all of the stuff now on the screen. You've seen the red and the green lighthouse and ships. The other two player colors in this game are blue and this sort of golden yellow color, as well as here's the first player marker, this cool compass rose piece. Everything is double-sided, so the boats actually change direction. Everything is printed on both sides, so it looks great from any direction on the board when things are slotted into the different locations. Again, I love the wooden components in this game. Maybe these cubes could have been something more interesting, but the cubes fit into these cutouts perfectly, so thematically, meh, but gameplay-wise, they work very well. Same thing with this octagon tower thing, cylinder thing. It works what it needs to be working, and it kind of slots into these little edges on the board so that it stays where it needs to stay as it's going around. Anyway, great design on the wooden pieces, great design on the components, aside from maybe the finish on the cards and the fact that they are a little bit curly after a little while, but everything else in this game looks and feels great. I really am a big fan of the visual and the physicality of this game. Last thing I do like to do in my videos before moving on is that I do like to show the inserts. Now this game has an insert. It's not really all that clever. I mean, all that designed an insert, but visually gorgeous. This is sort of the water and the land over here. You can see on the side here, there's the horizon over the water. And it's really interesting visually designed. It looks pretty in the box. It brings in the color from the game. Each of these troughs, I keep all of each player's components in a baggie. You can see they're marked with the 4 different player colors here. And in here you can see, here we've got the private destinations, the art cards, the decrees, the title cards, and the characters. And while there's no real separation in there, I found that you can pretty much get away without using bags if you're clever about how things go in. So in here, I've got these private destinations standing up like this. And again, I'm not putting all of them in there so it doesn't fill, but this does fill in quite a bit better. And then the art cards, again, with some of them still on the table, this isn't going to fit perfect, but they slot in nicely this way, fitting almost exactly the width of the box. So the art cards, again, slot in like this. Then all of the decree cards, again marked here just like that, standing up, fill that width almost perfectly. Same thing with the title cards then, fill in that width almost perfectly. And then finally, the character cards. Again, this is quite a bit thinner because there's still a lot of tiles on the board, but this fits in like that. And I promise you that when all of these cards are in here and all of these tiles are in here, there's very little space between here and the edge. And I've got a little bag that I keep all of the tokens that show the starting cards. That bag fills right into this little space right here. And it just, it holds everything really nicely in here without needing to organize anything. Everything is sort of organized already, and I don't have to sort of rebag and unbag things every time I play. Is it the perfect insert design? No, but functionally it works very well, surprisingly. It looks a lot less useful than it actually ends up being. So I actually give this insert quite some props for doing what they did with so little, and visually, again, it looks very pretty. So I am a big fan of this game design, the box design, and now meet me back up top and I'll let you know what I think about the game design itself. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. You'll notice that I didn't flag this game as part of my Papa de Moose Plays Japanese series of games videos, and that's simply because this time I got my review copy from the American publisher who's distributing the sort of French publication of this renewed version of what was once a Japanese game from Uchibacoya. But I want to bring that up because two things. Number one, the fact that it is a Japanese game is originally what put this game on my radar. But even more importantly, this one has a bit of a special story to me. And I was very glad to finally get a chance to play it. And that is, many years ago I had some students at my school that I was playing board games with at Board Game Club. And one of them graduated and went back home to Japan. And I posted on Instagram a long, long while back that I was curious to know if there was any sort of soloable board games in Japan. And the comment I got was, hey, go check out Amalfi. It's from this company called Uchibacoya. It's got a solo mode. It's really good. Try it, try it, try it. And from that day, I've been looking and looking and looking and trying to get my hands on a copy of that original game, Amalfi, to, unfortunately, no possibility of finding it or getting it very easily for me during that time. But also in that time now, I've got a channel that I'm running, and I have started reviewing Japanese board games on this channel. So I've been really, really excited to finally find this game. And when I heard that it was getting a sort of reimagining and it would have an English language republication, well, not republication because it's a new version, but publication in English, I was incredibly excited and immediately reached out and was very, very happy when I did receive a review copy of this game because boy was I excited to try this one. This is the first sort of real Japanese big game, strategy game that I'd heard of that had a solo mode in it. And as a solo gamer, and as a fan of Euro games, and as a fan of interesting Japanese games, I had to try this one out. And boy, am I glad that I did. This game is a whole lot of fun. So first, let's get into what makes this game as fun as it is. First off, this game is at its heart a worker placement game. And I tend to be a really big fan of worker placement games. And sort of new, unique, and interesting twists on worker placement games are always things that I'm interested in checking out. Now, thematically, this is a sort of trading in the Mediterranean kind of game, which doesn't do a whole lot for me, but visually this is a non-beige, very poppy color kind of game. And the fact that I like the publisher, and it came from Japan, and I wanted to know more about it was enough to pull me in, and I'm digging into this sort of mechanisms of this game, and it starts to look really, really interesting to me. And the reason for that is, it is a worker placement game. I've got a set of workers that I'm sending out to sort of at sea to these different destinations to retrieve resources, and ultimately I'm using those resources to acquire artwork, to invite different characters into my sort of player area back with me to Amalfi, and also finally to sort of explore new destinations that then ultimately give me more stuff and more stuff and more stuff, and eventually I'm trying to earn titles by the sort of things that I've achieved as a sailor on the seas and ultimately score the most points. But this idea of not just placing out workers, but then once I place a worker at a location, I don't just take a bunch of tokens that sort of show the amount of resources I get, but my workers are also the resources, right? If I need to make resources, if I want to be able to have resources to do things, I need to make sure that I have workers that I can use to sort of mark those resources as being gained. Which means, in the round as I'm playing, I need to be as efficient as possible, sort of getting the most resources as possible in a single action so that I'm not wasting ships on actions that I need to use to spend to sort of gain resources on my player board. And this balance of how many ships can I send out on the board, how many ships do I need to have to sort of turn into resources, and then this sort of engine or this sort of churning of this system. Send one out, put some of the resources, bring them back. Send another one out, put some of the resources, bring them back. And every time I run this, I'm basically losing efficiency, or I'm basically losing workers so that I'm losing the ability to do more and more every time. So my round starts off with tons of option, and then as I'm doing things, it slowly dwindles down until there's nothing I can do, and then I pass for the round. And then it's not just the end of the round. You're thinking like Uwe Rosenberg and those kinds of Euro-y kind of games where at the end of every turn I have to feed my workers. Well, food here is a different resource. It's an additional resource. And it could be that it would just be a system where I'm collecting food by going to a location and getting food, or trading something in to get food. But the food here adds another wrinkle to the game because I can get food by sort of overspending resources, because the resources I'm spending are not one by one, but sort of sets of 2 or 3 depending on the type of resource. And most often, or at least more often than not, I can't break down that number of resources into the exact number I need to get that artwork, to invite those characters, to find those new destinations. So I'm always left with remainder, and that remainder is turning into food. And then certain cards that I interact with, if I take the rightmost artwork card, if I if I recruit or bring in the rightmost character card, if I take the rightmost destination card, I'm earning food for doing that as well. So I have to be really careful about how I'm placing out, because if I chain things in the right way, then sort of I'm getting this extra little remainder spilling back into me as food, which is doubly important because that's not just for feeding your workers at the end of the round, but also most of the destinations, or at least a large number of the destinations that you're going to, also require food to activate whatever that destination does. So if I'm spending my food there, then I don't have the food to feed my workers. And if I want to go to more destinations, then I need to build more ships to have more workers, but then I need to spend more food at the end of the round. So there's this really cool balancing of what can I afford to do, how can I afford to do it, what order should I do it so that this pays for this becomes this pays for that, becomes this pays for that, and so on. There is always the spot on the board that I can place to get 4 food, which is big, but it's also a wasted action because it's not working towards anything else. So you really have to try and build this engine as efficiently as possible to sort of make sure that whatever you're doing is sort of leading the way into the next thing that you're doing. So the resources you have now become a thing that gives you more resources, becomes a thing that gives you more food. And then some of the characters you're inviting also can use food as the resource that you spend to get them invited. But then you might have a character that gets you more food when you do something. And then on top of all of this worker placement stuff and this resource management stuff, you've got these lighthouses. And the lighthouses give you an extra wrinkle, because now you basically are supercharging locations that anytime somebody goes to that location, you've got 2 options. But those 2 options are fighting each other too, because I can spend 2 food when somebody goes there to place a resource or a ship in that resource type, or I can simply gain 1 food. So now I've got this extra balance of, should I push myself and spend more food to get a resource without having to spend a ship? Or can I not afford that and I better take that 1 food so when it comes time to do another action, or when it comes time to feed my workers at the end of the round, then I can afford to do so. This balance, this efficiency engine of how to place, how to manage your ships the best way, how to manage your resources in the best way, which resources do you care about, which resources do you not care about, where do you put your lighthouse to get the most efficiency at a sort of busy space that lots of people are going to, which of these sort of private destinations should you focus on to get more powerful destinations, which of those private destinations can you sort of let sit on the board so they become board destinations in future rounds. This balance or sort of efficiency puzzle that you've got going here is a whole lot of fun. And then on top of the sort of core mechanisms in this game, you've also got the 2 sets of scoring goals. You've got the 1 set of scoring goals that you're scoring at the end of rounds, and the other scoring goals, the titles that are sort of contracts that you're trying to fulfill before the end of the game. And both of these are really cool because it pushes you to do things. If those weren't there and it was just like score as many points as possible, there's a lot of stuff you can do, but there's not a whole lot of focus in the mechanisms themselves. But now I've got these end of round goals. Well, do I focus on them or do I not focus on them? I've got these sort of contractual fulfillment goals as well in the title cards. And those are the ones you really want to hit, because those are going to get you 12 points or 24 points if you're the first person or the only person in solo to hit those points. But those are big. I need 6 characters. I need all of my boats and all of my lighthouses. I need 1 of each character type. I mean, all of these goals have big sort of asks that they're asking of you, and you've got to hit those thresholds to hit those points. But then you've got these end of round goals in the decrees that are sort of taunting you along the way. Because I can score extra points if I get those goals taken care of in the top corner of the board, and that might be nice to have the extra points. But if I sort of divert myself away from those contractual title goals in order to start hitting some of those decrees, well, then maybe I don't hit those title goals because I've been wasting time trying to score those extra 4 points for that decree up in the top corner of the board. And yeah, but if I can manage to sort of efficiently put that puzzle together in such a way that I hit this and I hit that, and I hit this and I hit that, and all of those things are scored on, then it feels really cool to have managed to pull that off. And I just love the way that works. And every time you play, you've got a different set of titles, you've got a different set of decrees, and everything is variable in such a way that it really does feel different. Sure, the way that you're doing it is the same every time, but the randomness of how things come out really push you to think about this puzzle in a very different way every time you play the game. So let's talk about the solo mode. Does it work as a solo game? I suspect that it probably works a little bit better as a multiplayer game, and I have played this a lot on BGA now, multiplayer as well, and it does really feel good as a multiplayer game. But as a solo game, I still have a lot of fun. Now, were this just a beat your own score game where at the end you're getting a score and you're checking the score thresholds, it would be okay. I wouldn't mind it. But the fact is here, with the 2 different difficulty levels, either way, they're forcing you, they're pushing you that you have to complete a certain number of titles, and those titles have to be completed by certain times throughout the game. And I do apologize that in this video playthrough, I started on the sort of difficult level and then dropped down to the standard level, but I did want you to see a full playthrough, and that was the only way to make that happen. But you see then that the difficult level is legitimately difficult because I'm forced to hit those titles, and I have to hit at least 1 title every round from the second round. So the first round is basically like setup. And then I gotta go boom, 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 hitting a title every round, or I fail instantly. Now the standard level gives me a little bit more leeway, giving me 2 rounds of freedom, and I can skip one of the titles if I want to. I kind of generally aim somewhere in the middle. I like to try the hard mode, because if I can win on hard, and I've done it once, it feels good. But also the regular standard mode where I only have to complete 2 of the 3 titles by the end of the game feels a little bit easy for me. So kind of what I like to do is play on this standard mode, but force myself that, yes, I only need to wait until I need to complete the first goal by the end of the 3rd round and the second goal later, but I want to make sure that by the end of the game, personally, that I hit all 3 of those goals. So if I don't get the first goal in the second round, or I don't get the second goal in the 3rd round, I don't call that a fail. But for me personally, if I get to the end of the 4th round and I haven't hit all of those goals, then I don't feel like I've sufficiently defeated the game. So I kind of like to play somewhere in like a 1.5 difficulty level. But either way, the fact that this game forces you to pursue those titles really feels good, because I forgot to mention it a minute ago, but not only do you have different goals, you can start with a different set of those 6 starting characters in your hand. And the fact that there are a bunch of different sort of sets of them that have a specific focus, so you can sort of play with these, if I have these titles on these starting cards, or these titles on these starting cards, what kind of pathway and how can I work my way through the game to get to that win? You know, the non-failure, not missing out on any of those goals. And that puzzle is great. Because even if you pick the same starting cards in the same puzzle, the same titles, all of the other cards that are coming out in the game are going to come out differently, so you are going to have to sort of react tactically while you play through the game as well. So the variability in the starting set of cards and the different titles and the different decrees and the different ways that things come out in the game really do push you to think about this puzzle in a variety of different ways. And I always love that, because I am not the kind of player who goes into a game and says, hey, this time I'm going to try this, or hey, this time I'm going to see what happens when I do that. I don't do that. I let the game push me in the ways that the game pushes me, and sometimes when the game doesn't push me, I feel lost because I just don't know what to do. But when I've got a game like this that has a bunch of different goals and a bunch of different starting situations and says, connect A and B together and do it the best way you can, that's exactly the kind of challenge that I'm looking for, and that's exactly the kind of challenge this game gives me. And I'm having a blast with this game, and I'm so glad that I finally got a chance to try it out. As always, I hope that this video was very helpful for you. If it was and you did enjoy the video, I do ask, as always, to please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon below, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks.